It's been 5 years since Amy Adams was not nominated for her performance in Arrival, and I'm still slightly pissed off. What is up, Netflix fans? Welcome back to my channel. The embargo is now lifted on The Woman in the Window. The movie, it feels like we've been waiting forever on. It's finally on Netflix. I want to say thank you to Netflix for sending me this screener, and let's talk about it spoiler-free, of course. Anna, played by Amy Adams, is an agoraphobic child psychologist who finds herself keeping tabs on the picture-perfect family across the street through the windows of her New York City brownstone. Her life is turned upside down when she inadvertently witnesses a brutal crime. Based on the gripping best-selling novel adapted by Tracy Letts, shocking secrets are revealed, and nothing and no one are what they seem in this suspenseful, psychological thriller. This is the exact kind of movie I'm looking for when I go on Netflix. I want something that's going to keep me intrigued and engaged, and I feel like if you're watching this review, you're feeling the same way. Is The Woman in the Window going to be that movie? We'll talk about it here in just a second, but first I want to talk about this cast. Like I mentioned earlier, Amy Adams, she is an awards-caliber performer, and honestly, she brings that type of performance to this role. Now, is it as in-depth or incredible as something we've seen from her before? Not necessarily, but she's really good in the movie, and she elevates the material here. We also have Gary Oldman, who doesn't have too much screen time, as well as Anthony Mackie, as well as Tyree Henry, who comes in a little bit later, but everyone here is good. We also have coming in John Walker, a.k.a. Wyatt Russell. We just saw his breakout, essentially, in The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Really good again here. And then, of course, you have a couple of characters, individuals in Julianne Moore and Jason Leigh, who are there. They don't really make their presence known, even though Moore has one or two scenes that are outstanding. So cast, really good. Let's talk about direction. Joe Wright is our director. Wait, that Joe Wright from Darkest Hour? Gary Oldman's Oscar-winning performance? Yeah, that Joe Wright. Essentially bringing back in Gary Oldman, giving a good performance. But we're really here for the story. We're really here to see how well this can be constructed and how well it's going to translate this material that's based off of the novel. Now, I've heard nothing but glowing things about the novel. That's why when I'm watching this movie play out in the third act, I'm thinking to myself, I don't know how faithful it was because I don't see the source material being this convoluted. And you guys know me. I don't like being negative, right? I'm super invested in the first act of this film. I think Adam's performance is great. There's this slower pace to the film that some are going to get agitated and bored by. I'm locked in when I'm getting a film like that, and you're seeing the world through her lens, through her perspective, agoraphobic, afraid to go outside. She's experienced a lot of trauma in her past, and you feel that, and you see that. Just her minute facial expressions, all of that is so understandable through what Amy Adams is able to convey. She does such an excellent, excellent job. And then you start asking yourself these questions. Is what she is seeing and hearing real? Are these semi-sketchy characters coming into this situation, are they trustworthy or not? Can she trust them? Can we trust them as an audience? And I'm posing all these questions in my head, and I'm like, yeah, this is working really, really well. And we get into the second act, and the second act takes those ideas, amplifies them. We finally get Tyree Henry's character, and he's coming in just trying to calm everything down, saying, okay, what did you see? What did you see? There's even a moment where everyone's in the same room, and the emotions are flying. Everything is chaotic because she's claiming things. Gary Oldman's character is claiming things, and everyone's trying to figure out, what did Anna Fox see? I haven't even talked about Fred Hechinger, who plays Ethan Russell, who is probably the second most integral part of this story, because he's the one that comes in, and it makes it feel and seem like there's something wrong there between he and his father. So, again, I was just thoroughly invested, and I was on the verge to giving this movie a really good score. But when we get into that third act, this drastically different pace in the first two acts all of a sudden speeds up. And we're thrown all of these twists and turns left and right, and everything happens within the span of like 10 to 15 minutes. And it just comes to a close like that. You don't even have time to process what is happening. You don't even have time to appreciate the really good performance that we're getting from Amy Adams because it's just so quick. And in my opinion, way too quick for what this story was setting up in the first two acts. Again, I don't believe it was the perfect build-up, but it was enough to set up for something that could have hopefully paid off on what they were able to set up. And you just get there, and it's like, wow, that, and that. And then you start to ask questions, and I was asking questions about these twists and turns, elements that I'm sure were way more fleshed out in the book, but then they happen on screen, and it's a jumbled mess, in my opinion. Almost the entirety of the third act, until we slow back down again towards the end, but there are just so many elements, and you see this title, you think Rear Window, right? I'm hoping they're going to incorporate some Hitchcockian-esque elements here, and if you're looking at the cinematography is really good. And during that climactic scene in the third act, you're getting some great shots, some phenomenal camera angles. But the story, in my opinion, it was all over the place. And I was almost laughing at points. It was just, it made me chuckle. So before I give you guys my score, thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this review, be sure to drop your thumbs up down below. Excellent performances and beautiful cinematography. Cannot save this one from being a bit of a mess over the course of the final act. Again, it's not a bad film. It's just kind of at the end of the day, and that's why I'm going right down the middle, a 50%. There is a lot going for this movie at the beginning, but towards the end, it just kind of, whatever happened, and we may talk about it in another video if you guys would like to see that, but I'm curious, most of all, what's the distinction, if you've seen the film, between the novel and the movie, and if they're more similar than I expected? Please let me know all of those things down below. Appreciate you guys so much for watching this video. Stay tuned, because later today, oh my goodness, Love, Death, and Robots, Army of the Dead, Underground Railroad. We're going to talk a lot. Come back, subscribe. Let's do it.